everybody, welcome back to my channel. So I should clarify, the boobs are actually in. I'm wearing a dress, it's very booby around here, but the boobs are in fact in. I'm wearing, you know, one of those like milkmaid dresses. It's like 30 million degrees in the UK right now, so I mean, I'm all for the boobs out movement. Love them. I do love me some good. Anyway, so today, once again, we're talking about my good friends. Oh, my good enemy, Ezra Fitz. You know, I've spoken a lot about Ezra, and I thought that was it. You know, there's only so much Ezra that I physically can tolerate. However, Taylor Swift recently, actually it was quite a while ago now, so this is quite late, I do apologise. Anyway, she really recently released a song called The Smallest Man Who Ever Lived, and whenever I listen to that song, all I can think about is Ezra Fitz. I went to the Eras tour, yeah, and just hearing that bridge live. Prison for this man. Like, no one knew I was singing for Ezra Fitz. Like, do you know what I mean? I thought we could actually sit down, we'll go through the bridge section by section, and I'm going to tell you how I relate it to Ezra Fitz and how actually Ezra Fitz is the smallest man to have ever lived. Probably not ever, but he's very much up there, sorry. Anyway, so The Smallest Man Who Ever Lived is probably... Is it my favourite on Tortured Poets? See, I'm very depressing. I like sad songs. So Loss of My Life is very much up there with my favourite on the album. But The Smallest Man Who Ever Lived, I can relate to a lot of men in my life. So I think I like that the most. If you don't know Taylor Swift, don't like her, or don't know this song, either you have probably clicked off this by now, so goodbye, I will be back for something you might like that's not this. But also, if you haven't listened to it, go listen to it. If not, you'll get the vibe. Don't worry, we welcome new people. You'll get the vibe of what we're talking about. And yeah, okay, so the first lyric of this bridge is, "Were you sent by someone who wanted me dead?" Now, Ezra Fitz, I feel like Aria emotionally and mentally, when she would grow up and kind of realise actually that might not have been the healthiest relationship for me, and actually I was manipulated, I feel like would send her into such a frenzy of, like, you know, feeling that utter distraught kind of feeling inside of you, and kind of that trauma coming back and realizing that you were kind of, I don't know if I can say the word on YouTube, the G word, but I think I linked this a lot as well. A lot of my trauma I didn't really recognize as trauma until I grew up, and I was like, hold on a minute, I don't think that I think a lot of Aria's teenage years were deadened by Ezra. She wasn't really allowed to explore relationships that were kind of her age, and I really enjoyed seeing her in those relationships that were her age and were for, I don't know, I think she was able to kind of go outside and do things more, and it was like less judgmental in the relationship, and I really liked that. But Ezra was in fact sent by someone who did want her dead. Well, not really, but metaphorically, yes. The next lyric, "Did you sleep with a gun underneath our bed?" Now, Ezra lying to Aria for the entire time that they were together, before like the book got like revealed, pretty much sums this up for me. Like, while they were together and kind of like living their best life, and like, oh my god, they're so in love, he was actually carrying this whole secret that he knew who Aria was. He had an underage relationship with Allison, and he was using Aria to write the book for the whole Allison disappearance situation thing. So the whole time they were together, he did have a gun underneath their bed because he knew what he was doing and he was targeting her for a very specific reason that would have only benefited him. Were you writing a book is the next lyric. And this is the lyric for me, and I think I've seen a lot for like other people in the fandom and like edits. Oh no, there is some great The Smallest Man Who Ever Lived edits with Arya and Ezra on TikTok if you want to go have a look, because they're quite something. But this was the main lyric, I think, for everyone that was like, oh, this is so Ezra Fitz coded. Because like I said previously, he was writing a book. And the entire kind of reason he got with Arya in the first place was to write this book about Alicent's disappearance. Because he had the like underage relationship with her. So he targeted Arya. He knew who Arya was. He knew Arya's age, and like the entire friendship group. He kind of wormed his way into that group, and kind of got all the information possible, and also spied on them. You know, like his evil like lair that was revealed. I will say the evil lair that was revealed was a bit of a gaggery. No, because I did enjoy that reveal very, very much. And I'm not going to credit Ezra for that, absolutely not. But the actual reveal of Ezra having this like secret lair, and we kind of assume he's A or working for A, I think was so good. Like when that happened, I was like, wow, okay, like this is like crazy. But the whole book lyric, I think, is literally Ezra summed up, because he was writing a book and he targeted the girls for this book. Then this links with the next lyric, which is, were you a sleeper cell spy? Obviously he was spying on the girls in his evil lair, and like I said, the gaggery of it, I did enjoy it. Marlene King, I will give you your credit for that, because like, okay, well yes, like okay. In 50 years will all this be declassified is the next lyric. It's really hard saying lyrics without singing them. I just realised how difficult that is. So I really linked this with Ezra in terms of the writers never really wanted us to talk about it and to talk about this relationship, and it was such a kind of elephant in the room thing, because we knew that we weren't supposed to like this relationship, but the writers did nothing but make us, you know, root and like the relationship. And in 50 years will this be declassified, I think is important with my kind of experience with kind of learning more about this relationship and actually why it was a very horrid situation to be in. Because I watched Pretty Little Liars for the first time when I was about 12, and when I was that young, like I was rooting for this relationship, and like when the parents were so against it, I was like, no, what are they doing? They're ruining the relationship. But it was actually so I'm 21 now. When I rewatched the show, kind of when I became an adult, I was like, hold on. Because I see what the writers are doing here to try and get us to like this relationship, and it worked for so many people. And it was only when kind of like one specific age group that watched the show grew up, you know, it was like, oh, like this is actually not a good relationship. So I think, will it be declassified? Because we'll never talk about it, and it will never be a thing of like, let's address actually like that this relationship is not good. And I don't know, I think it should be spoken about more. But obviously the relationship had such a big fan backing, because that's what we were led to kind of be in. We wanted this relationship, we rooted for it. So I think they were always going to be endgame no matter what, and it was kind of forced to be endgame anyways. The next lyric, and you'll confess why you did it. He will not. Trust. That man will absolutely not confess why he did everything. The relationship, the book, like everything. Like marrying one of your students that you had, like that you were teaching and you had a underage relationship with. Are you going to confess why you did it? Because trust. One thing about men, they will not confess why they did anything. Trust. And this man specifically, absolutely not. The next lyric, I'll say good riddance. Because trust. When my best mate Arya leaves that man, trust. We will be celebrating. We will be throwing a party. The girls, the gays, the theys, everyone's invited. Do you know what I mean? Trust, we will be there. The next lyric is, because it wasn't sexy once it wasn't forbidden. And this was kind of like, you know, like the early stages of the relationship with Arya and Ezra, very flirty, very like butterflies. Oh my god, I'm so in love with you. And then kind of once everything kind of went down, like once Ezra kind of, the relationship got revealed, I think the relationship wasn't as kind of like honeymoon period-esque, I guess. And it was kind of like, well, now that like we're not a secret, I'm kind of like a bit like, what do we do now? And then obviously to do with the book, like was it ever kind of like, I don't know, was it sexy one before he told about the book, and after that it was kind of like never the same, but it kind of was. The next lyric is, I would have died for your sins, instead I just died inside. Now this for me is Arya's perspective, because Arya loved that man. Like she loved him so much, and every relationship that she had that was very healthy for her and was someone her age, even Noel, I don't even like Noel, but even Noel, it was a good relationship for her, but she loved Ezra so much that she would have died for him, quite literally. But I think she died inside a lot of the time, when, especially when the book got revealed. And then the whole plot where like his ex comes back from being kidnapped or whatever that was, I really feel for Arya, and Miss Girl, don't worry, because trust, as soon as you bin him off, we'll be there. The next lyric, and I'm very passionate on this. I would take a degree in this one lyric. You deserve prison, but you won't get time. Yeah. Yeah. Now, do I need to make it obvious here? Ezra clearly deserves prison here, but will he get any time? Let me ask the audience, because I'll answer it. No, he won't. He will never get arrested for what he did. And I'm so annoyed, because in the books, he does actually get arrested. And that's kind of like the end of that. So it's interesting that the directors decided to take a different kind of approach with this Ezra. But yeah, this man deserves several years in prison. Not even just for Arya, for Alicent as well. But then spying on like underage girls too? Sorry. Absolutely not. Not in this household. Absolutely not. But we know that he'll never get time, because he will not get arrested. The thought of him getting arrested never even occurred to me when I was watching it, because I just knew the writers weren't going to do that. So it's a shame, because I would like the death penalty. This kind of links with the next lyric, you'll slide into inboxes and slip through the bars. So like he'll just get away with kind of everything that he's ever done, which is crazy, because this man is... No, trust me, because I will get heated. I will. So the next lyric, you crashed my party and your rental car. Now this, for me, I took two approaches to this. You crashed my party, for me, is you crashed my teenage years, like Arya's teenage years. Because like I said, I think there's so much that Arya could have done, so many different, like, I like her other relationships, but also I feel like once she got with Arya, she was very contained in that, and she was very, like, she couldn't really live her teenage years or her even like early adult years. Of course, she had A as well, but she was so kind of hooked up in this relationship, and she was so like this no matter what, that like her teenage years kind of crashed, because she didn't get to explore and to do other things, and everything was always Ezra. Literally everything was Ezra. I've pointed out in multiple kind of videos before that a lot of Arya's storylines end up coming back to Ezra, and it's really, really annoying, because I think Arya's kind of, like, she had the potential to be one, like, I like Arya, but because everything came back to Ezra in the end, I think it made her quite boring afterwards. Like my favorite liar, for example, is Hannah, because she had other storylines that weren't specifically just relationships. But I feel like as Arya, everything would eventually come back to Ezra, and it was super, super annoying. So I think it also crashed the potential of her character too. I wanted to, you know, have Arya up there as one of my favorites, but like it was just so let down every time that like that couldn't really happen. But then also I think I took a second approach. Ezra kind of crashed his reputation of being kind of like a nice guy. Although on the show, it didn't really come across like that because he didn't really face any consequences in the show. But the audience, we know. You know, we know that his whole reputation is now... reputation is now crashed. We know, for sure. You said normal girls were boring, but you were gone by the morning. So this, for me, was using Arya for the book. Love bombing her. And then kind of what was his plan after the book? Like, okay... You said normal girls are boring, so we fell in love, but then you were gone kind of once the book thing like kind of got revealed. So what was the plan after that? Because you kicked out the stage lights, but you're still performing. This kind of for me is Ezra was always presented as kind of like the nice guy. Even the way he was kind of dressed, like he was very smart, he was very handsome looking, kind of put together. But on the show, he was very kind of like kind and, you know, very put together. Like he was a professional, I guess, on the show, like staged as a professional, I guess. So he's putting on this whole act of being such a, you know, literally everything I explained, a nice professional guy, but actually he's just performing to that, because he's not that, because he openly targets these teenage girls to get what he wants. In plain sight you hid, kind of, it's similar in terms of Ezra was right there for so long. Just kind of like the everyday guy, the everyday teacher, talking with Arya's parents, like just amongst the community. Like in plain sight, this creep kind of spying on teenage girls, having relationships with teenage girls. He was just in plain sight to everyone. And he is what he did. No matter what the writers can do to kind of trick us into like, no, he's a nice guy, trust me, he's a very, very nice guy. Like, he's not a nice guy, and we know what he did. Then I'll forget you, but I'll never forget the smallest man who ever lived, because he is the smallest man who ever lived. I think it is so interesting that this song is such, like, the first time I listened to it, I was like, Ezra, because like, I'll forget him, but I won't forget what he did. And kind of, he is the smallest man who ever lived. I'm very sorry. No, I'm not even sorry. I'll say it with chest. He is the smallest man who ever lived. So this was a bit of a different video today. I found it very fun and interesting just to, because that bridge has been on my mind ever since it got released. And I'm like, wow, this is so Ezra Fitz coded. Yeah, I would love to hear your comments down below. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.